Behind me is a $7,000 ex-hoarder house, and I am restoring it. And I just wanted to give a big special thank you to Policy Genius for sponsoring this video. This house was built in 1917 by the Hildebrand family. The Hildebrand family was known all across the state of Iowa for their purebred horses. Now back in the 19-teens and the 1920s, horses were like tractors. Well, they had 80 purebred horses on this farm. So essentially they had 80 tractors, and that is how they made their fortune, was through selling their purebred horses. With part of their fortune, they decided to build this home. Now, shortly before this home was built, my great-great-grandfather built the house right across the street. The 19-teens went good for the Hildebrand family, the 1920s went good for the Hildebrand family, and then the Great Depression started, and the 1930s were not so kind to the purebred horse market, and they had to foreclose upon this home. After 6 days of labor by 40 men, 10 trucks, and a caterpillar, the job of removing the machinery, grain, hay, and household goods from the Hildebrand farm was completed. So this is where my family comes into play. My great-great-grandfather across the street, he saw that the house was for sale, and so he bought it for $7,000 in 1933. Hildebrand eviction is finally completed after 6 long days, March 16th, 1933. I thought that this was pretty cool. Mr. Prain was my great-great-grandfather, so Mr. Prain then offered to turn the farm back to the Hildebrands if they would pay him $7,000, the amount he had in it. They made an effort to raise the amount, and it is understood they'd get between $5,000 and $6,000. So he bought it for $7,000, and then he offered to sell it back to them if they could give him $7,000 for it again, which they could not. So this is how it stayed in my family. After that, the rest is history. My great-great-grandfather lived here, my great-grandfather lived here, my grandfather lived here. My grandpa actually has an extra special connection with this house because he was born in this room and then he died in this room. My dad lived here, I now live here, and my 2 boys also live here. So that's incredible. Great-great-great-grandfather, dad, me, my children. 6 generations in one home. Now, out of those 6 generations, my grandfather lived here the longest. Besides the years that he lived on an icebreaker ship in Greenland and inside of a lighthouse when he was in the Coast Guard, he lived here between 1933 and 2018. My grandfather was born in 1939, which was the end of the Great Depression. But that did not mean that my grandfather was not a product of the Great Depression. So everything he basically did his whole life, he kind of had the mindset of what he was taught when he was a little boy, which was you utilize everything you have. So when my grandpa got something, he never wanted to get rid of it because you never know when it was going to be useful. Now, sometimes that was definitely the case. I saw him do some incredible things and make stuff out of a pile of scrap that I could not believe. But a large majority of it got parked, weeds grew around it, and trees started growing, and then more stuff got put around it. And before we know it, we had over 1 million pounds of scrap metal around the farm. We had scrub trees everywhere, weeds 15 feet tall, and honestly, it was an absolute mess. So while my grandpa may have had a messy yard and not been the most organized and had hoarder tendencies, I absolutely love my grandfather, and I look up to him so much. He was an incredible dad to my dad, and he taught my dad a lot. My dad has stories on stories on stories on stories. My grandpa was my dad's best friend, and my dad is my best friend, so therefore my grandpa, by default, would be one of my best friends too, if he was still here. Now, unfortunately, he is not. By the time I got old enough to be able to start making a dent into picking up some of the junk around the farm and being able to work on it with Grandpa, he was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma, which is stage 4 brain cancer, and there was absolutely nothing they could do for treatment. And so in 2018, my Grandpa Ray passed away. Now, just before my grandpa passed away, he sat down with us and said, all right, I'm handing the farm over to you guys now. It is your responsibility, and it is an absolute mess out there. You guys need to go out and start getting the farm picked up. So I took that as my grandpa's blessing to be able to come in, start picking things up, and get it the way that I would like it to look. And that is exactly what I did. I grabbed the skid loader and our little dump truck and I got to work. I took load after load after load to the scrap yard. I ended up hiring a whole scrapping crew to come in with their big front loader and their big semi-trailers to haul out load after load after load. And then after that, I hired an excavator and bulldozer to tear down all the old rotten trees in my yard, smooth out all the dirt, and tear down all the old rotten buildings. After about 5 years and $100,000, this is what everything looks like out here now. We got it all cleaned up, smoothed out, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So this is what this looks like now. Look how nice, clean, wide open, and nice it is. This is what it looked like 5 years ago. All of this junk, gone. Yes, there's more. And more, 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 and more. So while I was doing everything outside with the yard and cleaning up the farm, the outside of the house was starting to get extremely dilapidated. Water was starting to get to the point where we had a little bit of rotting going on in some walls, and we were just concerned if we did not get onto the house a little bit, at least on the outside, we were not going to have a house for very much longer. So we ended up getting everything sided, we built a porch on it, and then the house has sat since. So one of my dreams was to get the outside of the farm cleaned up, and my grandpa gave me the permission to do that. One of my grandpa's dreams was to get the house completely fixed up, so that way it would return to the absolutely beautiful masterpiece that it was in 1917. Well, Grandpa let me do the outside thing, so I'm going to do something for my grandpa. I want to restore the house. So that's what we're gonna do. Now I know my grandpa's not here physically to actually be able to see it, but I know he's looking down from up above and he's got a big smile on his face. And he's like, you go for it, Cole. I sacrificed a lot for you and I taught you all the skills that you are going to need to be able to get this house completed and to be able to do most of it with your bare hands. So I wanna be able to honor my grandpa, and to me, this is, I mean, what more of an honor can I do? Outside of raising my boys up with everything that my grandpa taught me to do, I think this is the most special project that I've ever done, and I'm looking forward to it. So let's go inside now and see what we got to work with, what we're starting with, what our plans are, and here we go. This is going to be a project. First things first, when we open the door, we have the entryway. The entryway is going to take us up. We can go left into the kitchen, or we can go right up the servants' staircase. We're actually going to do none of those things first. We're going to start in the basement. So at the bottom of our basement stairs, we have a little landing spot. We have the area where the old clothes chute is. If we look straight up, this will actually take us all the way upstairs. I know it's dark in there. I don't like it either. It's scary. There's probably bats. So we're just going to shut this door for now. But we do have an old clothes chute. I think the days of having laundry in the basement when we get everything remodeled inside the house are going to be over. So unfortunately, the clothes chute probably going to be going bye-bye. Also in this little landing room, we have a door that we can open up. There's just a crawl space in there that is underneath of the landing where we walk inside of. So it's just like 3-4 feet tall in there. There's insulation. I'm pretty sure under the insulation is dirt. Every time the weather changes and it gets cold, we get mice in the house. And I have a big feeling that they're coming in from in there. So I definitely want to be doing something to, I don't know if we get concrete in the bottom of that or what, to seal it up, because I'm tired of having mice in my house. I went to go put my boots on the other day and a rat ran out from under my boot, and oh my goodness, I didn't think I could jump that high. So after the little landing room, we can either go right or we can go left. If we go left, it takes us into the laundry area. So we got the dryer, we got the washer, there's a toilet in the corner, and a shower. The house did get hooked up on rural water a couple years ago, so we have nice, clean, fresh piping coming into the house, and this is supplying to the bathroom and the kitchen right now. But all these other scary, rusty looking, big old fat pipes go to the rest of the house. So we're gonna be ripping all these out. So if we see a blue one, that is good. But anything else that's galvanized, steel, whatever that is, that is going to be going bye-bye. So we're going to have a lot of ceiling work in here, just ripping stuff down. We're going to be taking that wood down, getting all the studs exposed. We're going to be gutting this room. Now, besides the pipes being some problems in here, we also have problems with these two exterior windows. When we get a bunch of rain, water runs down. We can see we already got some coming in right here. That no es bueno, so we need to be getting that fixed. We have this old chimney. This chimney is not used anymore. It used to be used for in the kitchen, back when there was a stove in there, like the ones where you actually put coal inside of or wood inside of. This was the kitchen stove chimney. And we don't have one in there anymore because we have a stove. So this thing is starting to fall apart. I'm pretty sure bats come out of there, so we're just going to take a couple steps back. We're going to be ripping that out. On the other side of this wood paneling, we have that little crawl space. So we'll do something with this white pipe that comes in. That goes through the wall. That actually goes to the well. We have so much iron in the water in this well. That well is 463 feet deep. Literally, if I ran it inside of my bathtub for like 30 minutes, I would have a red stained bathtub. So we want the blue piping because that's got roll water that comes from town. That's nice, clean water with not a lot of iron in it. So all that old white piping and stuff, it's going to be disappearing because we are not going to be utilizing the well inside of the house anymore. Now on these pipes on the corners, that white stuff is either corrosion from the pipes, which I'm kind of doubting the more that I'm looking at it now, or that's asbestos. Either way, both of those things are bad. If we had one or the other, we're getting rid of it because of it. The other part of the basement has two entrances. We have this one right here, and then we also have that one right there. First up, we have the super, super sketchy electrical. Let's just take a look at this for a second. I don't want to be doing any work inside of that. Everything in here is these old screw-in fuses, so these are not breakers. So if you blow one of those, you physically have to replace those circular things, and those can actually get surprisingly pricey. The basement has a forced air furnace solely for in the basement. My grandpa would turn this on when he would come over here to take showers, which is kind of funny because, instead of a space heater or two, full-blown furnace for a whole entire house just so you could be warm in the bathroom. And my grandpa definitely went overkill with that one. Then on the other side of the furnace, we have our boiler. This is what runs the heat inside the house right now. It runs hot water through all the radiators in the house. So this is what we currently use, and we really like it. Now I'm saying we're going to be getting rid of all these big pipes, even though they have hot water running through them that supplies water to the radiators, because we're going to be getting rid of our radiators. But we might be keeping the boiler. I'm not sure yet. And over here we have the super scary dark corner with all sorts of weird hieroglyphics on the walls. I don't know what all these things are, but yeah, it's just kind of, look at that. Definitely proof aliens have been here. Yeah, for sure. Now right here under this piece of wood is what would have supplied water to the house back in 1917. This is a cistern well underneath of here, so it is 25 feet deep. So we'll have to pull this cover off, and then we'll have to figure out something to fill that up because we're not going to be utilizing this anymore. Now I know my basement looks all dark and scary and stuff, but the house is located right on the top of a hill, so when we get rain, everything just flows away. And the most water I've ever seen in this basement was just kind of like a damp little tiny bit along the floor. So really we have a dry basement. And honestly, I don't know if that well cistern has something to do with it or not. I mean, it would make sense if groundwater went into that. So that's half of my basement. The other half is over here into what I call the interrogation room. I need to get a light hanging down here, one that swings. And I have the interrogation table. Now, that'd be kind of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time. This room just has a storage rack that pulls all the way up to the ceiling. We just got shelves for random miscellaneous items. I don't know if they use this room for canning or something way back in the day, but it's just kind of an interesting shaped room for a basement. You would have thought straight wall here, but it's got the little bump out just like the front of the house does. So everything's just built right on top of this. I take it it's original with these bricks. I guess when I think of 1917 homes, I don't think of this big heavy brick, especially this big heavy brick being in this good of condition. And as far as I know, nobody's ever came in and done anything to the basement walls to fix them or rebuild them. So I think this is the original walls, which looking at them, they appear to be in absolutely phenomenal shape. No cracks, no separation. Everything is good, straight. And then the last room is definitely no exception. We have nice, clean, well, not really clean wall, but no cracks or separation in the brick or anything. It looks good. We do have a super sketchy looking electrical setup right there. I don't even touch that because that is sketchy. And that's super sketchy, but that thing's super creepy. Nobody knows what it is. We think it was maybe the extra water holding tank for inside of the house, so that way they could have pressurized water. And the newspaper articles we found about the house, it said there was pressurized water in the house. So that would make perfect sense because they would probably have to have a tank in order to have it pressurized. But the thing is, I don't know how to get that thing out of here other than take a torch and literally cut it up. So I hope it's just water. But I really don't think it's gas because if I follow that pipe all the way to the other side of the house, it connects into all the water stuff over there by the cistern and the pumps. So it leads me to believe it was something with the water. I just don't think it was ever fully hooked up because my Uncle Orlin, he moved here 90 years ago and he said they never used it when he was a little boy. So it leads me to believe it probably was never actually used. But it's just a big old thick thing. And then this is chimney number 2, which looks like years ago they had some soot clean out spots. This just has the pipe that leads the boiler up and outside. Then right here we have these are floor jacks. So we have a beam going across. This is holding up part of the floor upstairs. That must have been saggy. So now this leads us upstairs. So here we go. We're on the landing now. We have our shoe rack. And honestly, this is not an accurate representation of how this normally looks because normally all these shoes are down here. But then we go up this little set of stairs. We have another landing. Then we have another shoe rack, which this is how this pretty much always looks. I'm trying to figure out a way to make this area more clean, but we have the servant staircase, so we can go upstairs that way. We're going to go into the kitchen first. So inside the kitchen, we have all sorts of things going on. We got the bright flame blue countertops going on with a nice background drop. I don't even know what you'd call that. Then if we look up, we have wood paneling on the ceilings with beams. We got a chimney. We just got all sorts of different things. And we got the off-color stove compared to the fridge. That light's a different color than that light. Those are different colors. And then that's a different color yet. That might even, yeah, we got a different color there. Nothing matches in here, but it's perfect and we love it. We just don't love it enough to keep it like this. And I apologize for the mess. We have a 1-year-old, we have a 1-month-old. Neva is sick, the boys are sick. We had 3 Christmases and a birthday party, so we have not been home for all this, and New Year, throw that in there. So it's kind of messing here right now, and we're also moving, so yeah, take it for what it is. Sorry for the mess. So if I'm not mistaken, the kitchen was remodeled in the 1980s. So that's when the bright blue countertops would have been installed and then the nice ceiling. Apparently, these big wooden beams came from a building in town that burnt down. And then my grandpa went in and he salvaged the wood and he brought it out here and then he made it into the ceiling. And he was watching an episode of Gunsmoke and he noticed the ceiling like this and he liked it. So he wanted to have it in his kitchen. So that's the story with the ceilings. And then the bright blue countertops. When my grandparents split up, my grandpa got remarried like 10 years later, and his wife developed cancer, and so she was sick. And the bright blue countertops made her feel good, and so that's why they got them. So it made her happy. It was some positivity in her life with her sickness, and so she ended up passing away a few years later, but the bright blue countertops stayed and have been here since. The bright blue countertops make me happy. I mean, there's just something about them. I mean, who has blue countertops? But Neva doesn't appreciate them as much. So we are going to be ripping the cabinets down in here. We're going to be ripping the backsplash out. We're going to be ripping all of the bright blue countertops down, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, okay. It's probably going to look better with different color countertops. The kitchen does have updated wiring, or at least 1980s updated wiring. So everything in here should be safe to run. I mean, we can at least feel comfortable running the dishwasher, the stove, the refrigerator without worrying about burning something down. Now, the floor in the bathroom is this tile type material, and actually it's the exact same floor underneath what we have in the kitchen. We just covered it up with this cheap laminate that we ended up picking up because when Edward was born, the tiles in the kitchen are starting to come loose, so these little pieces would come up, and then Edward would pick them up and carry them around. And we did not want him to put those in his mouth. So we simply covered this up. We'll pull this up, and then there's a layer of mortar and stuff underneath this that we'll have to end up ripping out, so that way we can get down to the bare studs in the floor, and then we can put in the floor the way we would like to. We are going to be ripping out this entire wall right here, and so kitchen's going to bleed right into the bathroom. We're going to gain 8 more feet into the kitchen, then the bathroom is going to be gone. This used to be a pantry, and then it got made into a bathroom, so we have not always had a bathroom right off the kitchen. And if you're ever thinking about doing this in your house, think twice, because it's not the most ideal. And while we're at it with ripping out walls, we're going to be tearing out this one here with this door. There's a little hallway that takes us to an exterior door on the other side of that. That is going to be all opened up. And then this wall is going to be opened up. So it's just going to be open from the kitchen all the way into the next room. Big, nice, open room. This leads us over into the dining room, which is actually our living room right now. We have an absolutely beautiful hutch. This wood is all original to the house. My great-grandmother would have done all the staining in it with her friends. They used Q-tips, apparently, for all the little tiny areas. I would like to keep this hutch, yet I just don't want it right here. We'll find some other place to move it to. But this is all going to be open. So basically from right there on the edge of the door, all the way forward into the kitchen. Nice, open. We're going to have a lot of nice room in here. The problem with the dining room, or in this case right now, the living room, we have these string lights hung up that are ran over just simply to a plug-in because the electricity in this room does not work. The super sketchy fuse panel that's over there, yeah, that one runs this room. And so these lights here on the corners don't work. The ones in the ceiling fan coming down in the center where the chandelier used to be, those don't work. And so we don't have any electricity actually in this room. The light switches don't work. The outlets don't work. The only outlet that works is this one right here. And this one would have been updated in the 1980s when my grandpa did the kitchen. So that part that's holding up the floor with the floor jacks downstairs is right underneath where we're standing right now. And I mean, you can kind of hear the floor. If you step in the right spot, it kind of moves a little bit. So I would definitely like to get that taken care of. Hey, let me ask you a serious question. You got a family? If you had to write a check right now for what your family's safety and security is worth, you probably couldn't write the check. Could you? But if you could write the check and it was for $292 a year and they'd be left with a $1 million tax-free check in the event that something happened to you, the juice would be worth the squeeze, am I right? That exact question was the reason why I ended up going to Policy Genius and pulling the trigger on a life insurance policy. If you're not familiar with Policy Genius, here's how it works. Go to policygenius.com/Cole-the-Cornstar. You'll answer just a couple questions. An agent will give you a call. They'll ask a few more questions, and then boom, you have life insurance. And Policy Genius is a one-stop shop because they compare all of America's top insurers and they give you the one that has the lowest price with the most coverage.
But Cole, I already have a life insurance policy through work.
Just make sure that that policy is enough to cover your family's needs and make sure that it follows you if you were to leave that job. With Policy Genius, you can find rates that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Their licensed award-winning agents work for you, not the insurance company, so their only incentive is to get you the lowest price for the most coverage. I know I was impressed with them, and the thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot means I'm not the only one thinking the same thing. Save time and money and provide your family with a financial safety net using Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/Cole-the-Cornstar or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. Another one of the problems in this room is these windows face straight west. Now, these old windows, they have window weights inside of them, so when you pulled the window up in the past, because the windows weighed a gajillion pounds back then, those weights have a pulley on the top with a string attached to them and like a 15-pound weight on the side. And when you lift the window, the weights hold the window in place. Well, since we had weights in there, there's like a 4-inch wide gap all the way around this window where there's no insulation. Same with this big old honker and then that one. So when we get nice winds out of the west, which is pretty much 90% of our wind, you just feel a nice draft coming right through this room. We also have some plaster that's starting to crack in here. It's not terrible, but it is starting. So we got a nice piece there that's breaking up. There's a nice little crack over here that's starting. And then we do have some in the ceiling. And then we got a little bit of staining where we had a windstorm a couple years ago, blew the windows out in the attic, and then a bunch of water ran through the house. So, I mean, just little things like this, they are not the end of the world right now, but they will continue to get worse and worse over time. And eventually this ceiling will collapse in different areas. So there's another one. So it may not be the whole thing, but this piece right here could fall down, fall on somebody, could be a piece in the middle when you're laying on the couch, boom, drops right on you. So those are kind of the main things that we're going to be addressing in this room. So this wall is going to be gone. This wall is going to be staying. We are going to be closing these pocket doors off. And then this office is going to be split in half. Back half is going to be a bathroom. Front half is going to be a pantry for the kitchen. On the other side of the room, we have another set of pocket doors. This wall is going to be taken out as well. Now, these walls are not load-bearing. That is not a load-bearing wall. This is not a load-bearing wall. The only load-bearing walls we have down here are this one right here. All the ones that run this direction, so that's load-bearing. And then this one with the pocket door is also load bearing. So I think there's already a header board built in up here. There has to be, because these pocket doors take up this whole space here. So there's no actual structure there. And then behind this door, pocket door goes into the wall, no actual structure. So all the weight of upstairs is being supported by whatever header board is up here. So this is non-load bearing. We're going to be taking this wall out too. So this is all going to be opened up. This brings us into the living room, which is where we are living right now. So we got Edward's playpen. We're living out of this as our closet because all our closets are gone upstairs. And then we have the old fireplace, which is behind our changing station right now. But that has a built-in mirror with it. That is original to the house. It's a nice brick fireplace. We can see it back there. And then we got these beautiful pillars. Once again, this is all original woodwork. We got the same stuff in the ceiling. We actually have a chandelier in this room with the lights. So how these are lit up in here is how the living room, aka the old dining room, is supposed to be lit up. It's just the electricity in this room is not working. So I want to try to maintain as much of this original beauty as we possibly can. The doors in this house are awesome. They are made out of 3 different types of wood. So I believe this is oak, and then the darker one on the inside would be walnut, and then the lighter one is maple. So the walnut is outlined with maple, then we got a maple on the inside, and then the rest is oak. So these are all absolutely original. Everything else in here is original. We have the nice pillars here. This is a load-bearing wall, and so they must have a header board built up there too. Otherwise, there's no way this arch could exist. But then this takes us back into the parlor, which is my bedroom right now. If you notice, the doors all have tape on them. We have masking tape, and then we have that clear packing tape. Basically, we've been sealing off all the dust because on the other side of that wall is a construction zone. And if you probably guessed, this wall is also going to be coming out and it's going to be opening up. But I would like to maintain as much of the original ceiling stuff as we can for this wood. We're going to be taking down the plaster and redoing the electricity and everything up there regardless. But I really like these ceilings, and I would like to have the whole downstairs looking like this because those things are really cool. This mirror is built into the wall original with the nice pillars and stuff around it. And check this out. We have these lamps. They all light up like this. We got one on each side. And then underneath the pillars, we actually have the same thing. There's a light built into it right there. There's one built into it right there. It's kind of funny how you turn them on. You just have a random little switch on the wall. And then boom, we have lights up there inside of the pillars. This room has one outlet in it, which is in the corner, and my grandpa would have added that in the 1980s. Otherwise, there is absolutely nothing for outlets. We have another set of lights hanging on both sides of this window. And then we have the same thing going on with the insulation in these. So you get a nice west wind. You just feel a nice cool breeze moving through here. And then we do have a more modern outlet right here that my grandpa would have put in the 1980s as well. Otherwise, there is absolutely no other outlet in this room. So all of ours are right there. Actually, I take that back. We have this kind of sketchy one that would be original to the house wiring. And then we just stuck in a more modern 1970s receptacle. And I basically just charge my phone and run a diffuser off of that. Another set of big windows in here. These ones face straight north. They also have the same thing with no insulation around them. It gets pretty chilly along this wall. Now, this radiator pumps out a ton of heat. It does a good job of fighting it off. But like standing right here right now, like my feet are cold because I feel a nice breeze coming underneath of this window. I just noticed something kind of interesting. We have a lighter colored wood stain in the parlor versus the rest of the house. These ones are all just a little bit darker. And we have the same thing going on inside of the office, actually. The floor, you can see right on the line, they would have used the lighter colored wood stain. And so we have a completely different color in here. This room is where basically I do all of my office stuff. And this is my only outlet right here. Once again, 1970s receptacle, 1917 wiring. We run down behind the filing cabinets over to a power bank. Power bank runs behind the radiator, behind this desk, where I have another power bank, and then that runs all my chargers and everything else for me to work on my computer. We have another door in here that is taped off, and it leads us right under the other side of that door. We will be going in there in just a moment. We have these beautiful mirrors built into all the closet spaces, and so some of these are starting to get a little cloudy on the back side of them. I think we just take off this little piece of wood, and then we can pull that mirror out and probably replace the mirror. As I would really like to reuse the doors, but these are, weird closets. You can go way into the back right there. Like that goes back like 4 feet. And so it's just kind of an interesting layout. But I think the size of this closet is the exact same size that this hutch is. So it kind of makes me wonder if maybe they thought of putting that hutch in there in the past, and so they framed everything out and built it for it, but then decided to put it here. I don't know, but it's just with the shape of that being so deep into there, it just makes me wonder. And on all the windows in the house that are these 4 feet wide ones, they are single pane. So when you put your finger on them, they are ice cold. There's absolutely no insulation in the windows. So, just putting my hand here, it feels like I opened up a refrigerator and stuck my hand in front of it. I feel nice, cold air. I also don't have any up above electricity in this room. There's not even a light fixture up there. And then the light switch has nothing hooked up to it other than just super sketchy wires hanging in there. And we're going to put that tape back over that so that way we can keep the dust out of here. So these have been what I have been using to light up this room, which they actually work pretty good. But there's definitely quite a few dark places in here. Once again, I apologize for the mess. We're moving. Oh yeah, my office is also my closet. It's where I keep all my clothes. And the rest of my clothes that I can't fit in there and that I can't fit inside of there, we have been keeping inside of these bins. So we've been living out of bins. So all my work clothes are in here, nice and easy to get to. But I'm looking forward to not living out of the bins anymore. Now the radiator that Edward sleeps by, that thing works like an absolute champ. We do have one over here on the back side of the couch, a nice big one. That one works phenomenally. Really, all the ones downstairs work extremely well. The one in my office gets super hot, and the hottest one of them all is the bathroom. If you shut the door when you're in the shower or something, this room will literally get to 90 degrees because that thing stinking cooks. Fun fact, if you take latex paint and you paint over oil-based paint, that's what happens over the course of a couple years. If you look in the bathroom, you can tell this room was not designed to have a bathroom right here because we built the shower wall out. Now this looks like it's supposed to be like this with the window, but the window actually keeps going all the way behind there. Like we got probably another foot to go before we're at the edge of the window. So if you're looking outside in, you see wood framing on the back side of the shower wall. And since this room used to be a pantry, there are no plugins in here whatsoever. So we have no outlets in the bathroom. If we need to do anything, we have to come out into the kitchen. There is one right on the other side of the bathroom wall right here, but that one doesn't work. I don't know what's wrong with that one. It just doesn't work. So we either got to use one on this side of the sink or one on that side of the sink. I would open that door, but the couch is in the way. That door leads into the exact same hallway that this one does. So it's like a 6-foot long hallway in there. That room is completely gutted on the other side of that wall. And speaking of gutted, we've literally been living on the other side of a construction zone. Hence why we have tape on all the door seams and stuff, because in here we are completely gutted. And this is the beginning of what we are kind of doing to the entire house. So this door takes us into the office. As we can see, we have the nice mirror on that one. We got the pocket doors where our bed is right on the other side of. Then we got another door to be able to get into the living room or where Edward's playpen is. And then this one takes us into the dining room. We have been having to walk through the construction zone. We have our Wi-Fi router right there. But when we went to go to our back freezer that has all of our food in it, we have to walk through here to get to it. We have an exterior door here that goes to the front porch. This room's kind of interesting. There's no electricity in here, so we can't turn on the light. But it's got kind of some cool paintings that are original to the house in here. It's kind of neat. Behind this window, well, behind these walls, this is actually rotten. We had a spot where the siding was gone, the old wood siding, and water got back in there, and then a bunch of ants and stuff got in there. So if I tore this wood paneling away, we would have had a whole bunch of rotten areas. We ended up cutting all that rotten stuff out and replacing it. But down below here, it's still a little bit soft on the wood paneling, and that plaster got destroyed. So this room is going to be gutted. This wall is going to be coming out here. So it'll all be open into this space. Then from that to the right, this is all going to be open. And here we are going to have the chimney coming down, potentially, if we keep the chimney. Otherwise, this will all be one big open space. It'll go all the way to right here. So we'd be looking into the kitchen, and we'd have like 4 rooms put together. So it's going to be big, nice, open, really cool. I appreciate you sitting and imagining with me and using your imagination. As we get on with this project further and further, everything will come together, and we're going to be documenting it all. So we'll be able to see every little bit of project going on, but we haven't really got started with anything yet other than some demo. So I just want to lay it out what it's going to look like, and then it's kind of fun. Then when you come back, we can see what we changed our minds on, and then we can see like the idea we had at the beginning, and then once we actually finished through, seeing how it turned out. So it's gonna be really cool. I'm excited. The office is on the other side of that wall. Now remember, we're gonna be splitting that room in half. So from here to the right is gonna be pantry for the kitchen. We'll be able to put our deep freezes and stuff in there. And then the other half is gonna be a bathroom. So in order for us to get in there, we're simply just gonna walk underneath the staircase. There used to be a closet right here, no electricity. So we can see we got the super sketchy knob and tube wiring pieces just sticking out. We can tell it's knob and tube because it's got these things all over, and that's basically just how they're suspended through the entire house with that. So I don't know what makes this knob and tube so dangerous. If it's the outside, if mice can chew right to it, and then we get exposed wire, it doesn't have the same coating that modern wiring does. I'm not honestly 100% certain how this works. I just know that knob and tube is not safe. But we are going to simply cut this hole out right here, and then we're going to have an access through. Now, if you're 7 feet tall, I'm sorry, it's not very tall through here, but I'm not 7 feet tall, and no one in my family is, so it'll work just fine. And really, I guess if it's going to be that much of a problem for height, we can always just simply raise the level of that platform a little bit, because we're going to be probably doing something different with these stairs. My big thing is, if we're going to be doing all of this work, I don't want to step and literally feel the whole house creaking beneath me. If you step here just right when the humidity is right, it literally cracks from here all the way through. You hear it on the other side of the house. It's just like it's all connected together, which it is. But if we're doing all this work to it, I don't want squeaky floors anymore. And I don't fully know how to eliminate squeaky stair other than either put in a ton of nails and screws, which can we keep this same surface because all these are going to need to be redone anyway, or do we just put in new and then it's going to be matching whatever we have for flooring down here, because this floor is the exact same way, super squeaky, not always the most level in places because we have spots of the floor sagging like right underneath of us. And then also, since we're going to be tearing out all these walls, we're going to have these gaps in between, and then how do we get material to look the same without it looking like, okay, that was definitely patched in. I want it to look nice if we're going to be putting in this much work into it. Got another example of super sketchy wiring. Look at all that knob and tube, nice, thick, big stuff. And then it goes up there, and then I don't even know where it all goes. It branches out absolutely everywhere. This is, look at how they got a jumper going from that one over to that one. And yeah, that definitely looks super safe. And then now for upstairs, this is the servants' staircase. We have the same lighting on the side of the windows up, and here there's no above lights. It's all everything on the side. We come around, next flight, and here we are. This is the upstairs. We have everything already gutted up here, and this is a wonderful, nice, messy construction zone. First things first, our little hole in the floor. This is the closed chute that leads down into the basement. Our first on the left, we have a closet. We need to get this cleaned out. This closet is going to be disappearing. Then we have What used to be my grandpa's old room. This one had a closet in on the back side of it. We're actually going to be tearing out the closet. We're going to be putting in a stairway up to the attic. There's a landing right on the other side of that wall. I know I said we don't have electricity up here, but I take that back. In my grandpa's room, he retrofitted some stuff in the 1980s when they did the kitchen. So we have some more, at least modern wiring that can take a little bit of a load. So we're running all of our extension cords through this plug-in. Then we have one over on that wall. It's pretty easy for us to tell if we have somewhat modern wiring by the wire that actually comes up through. This is coated nicely. The stuff that was put in 1917 is this black wiring that's, it almost feels like rough carpet, like melted plasticky rough carpet. That's the chimney that was used in the kitchen, so we don't use that anymore. It doesn't even go through the roof, so we're actually going to be tearing that chimney out. So the plan with this room is we are going to combine it with this room, which used to be the old bathroom. We can see we got the same little tile pieces like we do in the kitchen, and then that's the mortar that they use underneath to hold everything in. So all in all, that's probably like 3-4 inches thick of stuff we're gonna have to rip out. Looking down below, we have the entryway that's just off the kitchen. So that wall is the other side of it's the bathroom. We're gonna be tearing that wall out. We're gonna be tearing that wall out, which takes us into the kitchen. And then we're gonna be tearing that wall out, which takes us into the living room. But this room, and this room are all going to be combined into one. It's going to be a master bedroom. So we're going to have a bedroom area in over here. Then we're going to have the bathroom closet area in on these two rooms. And then it will lead over into here, which will be a secret staircase up into the attic. One of my favorite things about this room is the little cutout piece that sticks forward. So a bed fits perfectly in between there. And then when you're laying in bed, you're forward enough, you can actually look out the window. So I just like that because I think it's kind of cool. This room did not have updated electricity. Notice how there's absolutely no wires down below where we would commonly have a plug-in. The only place you can get electricity in this room is right above for the overhead light. No ceiling fan though. And then we have the ones beside the closet where we can turn those on. And then this is the outlet. And it's a screw-in type outlet, so you literally have to screw in a plug-in if you're going to use it. And then, once again, we got the nice, safe knob and tube wiring. And once again, we have every closet up here with the built-in mirror inside of the door. So this room has it. Then in the old bathroom, that has a mirror in the door as well. This one's a little bit dirty. And as we can see, this one, the mirror part, it's like it's starting to fall out on the inside. So not the most reflective in here anymore. And then the door that used to be on the old closet over there is right here. That one has a mirror on it as well. So we came up the servant's staircase and then we went over to Grandpa's room. Now this one's going to be combined with the bathroom, which is going to be combined with this room. So this is all going to be one big giant master bedroom. And if we continue down the hallway, we have the north rooms. So we have the one on the right, and then we have the one on the corner. The wall between these rooms, you guessed it, it's going to be coming out as well. When we go into the corner room, this is a really big room. We have the mirror on the wall, same thing with the electricity. We have each side of the closet, that's just where they put the lights. We do have a center light. The electricity does not work in this room though. And then we have the old plug-in. So that's an old screw-in plug-in. So you would have been able to plug one thing in inside this room. And we would have had a full closet. We can get the stuff out of the way. We can open the door. But you can walk into these guys. They're actually fairly spacious. So this room would have had one. And then this room also had one. You can kind of see what I'm talking about with where they had the window weights inside of here. So we have some spray and insulation in here right now to help seal it up. But before we put that in there, this was just bare wood right to the outside. So that's the width of my hand. And it has the exact same thing on this side of the window and then the other side of the window. Well, actually every single window in the house, which I believe there's 42 windows. The uniqueness of this room is it is absolutely ginormous. Since we're going to be taking out that chimney and going to be taking out that wall, and these are going to be all connected together. This thing is going to be an absolute monster. We also have the best views in the house. We can look up to the road so we can see who's coming in the driveway. We can look at the wind turbines on the horizon. And then on the north side, we can look out into the grove. At night, there's a lot of deer out there. Early in the morning, there's a lot of deer, animals, critters. So we can definitely have the best view from this room. And then when we step into this room, we have the beautiful window above the bed. I like this window above the bed. This is actually my favorite room in the house. I kind of wonder if this was the old master in the house, even though there's no bathroom in here, because of this closet. This is a walk-in closet. This is probably a 6x6, so compared to all the other closets, this thing is absolutely huge. What I would like to do to this room, we will be taking out this wall, so this is all going to be opened up into one big master bedroom, and we're going to be building a bathroom over here. Now, we may need to build this wall a little bit this way just to kind of have enough room to get everything inside of there, but that's the plan with this room. We'll be taking the closet that's over here. The closet on the right was for the room on the other side of the wall. The closet door on the left was for this room. I think we're just going to open it all up into one and then just make it a closet for this room. So you don't have as big of a closet in here, but you have a much bigger room and you have the views. And then when we step back out into the hallway, we have one room that is on the inside of the house. We're going to be taking this out. So this is all going to be open inside of here. We are going to be leaving this wall right here because this one is load bearing, but these other ones are going to be taken out. And this is going to be like an open commons area because we are going to be building an addition in the future on this side. And so this will be the connecting way over to it. And we've already started to make a mess out there. This room is no exception to how all the other ones were. We got a light on one side of the closet, light on the other side, and that is our only spot for a plug-in. Every room does have a radiator. This radiator works. The radiator in Grandpa's room works. The radiator in that room work. But the radiators in the north room, this one does not work and that one does not work. These have never actually been hooked up, so during the winter time, when my grandpa lived here, he'd just always leave these doors shut and these rooms were always cold. And then this brings us to our main staircase where we go down below, and then we have all the rooms where we can access everything. So we got the office on this side of the wall, we got the living room on that side of the wall, bedroom over there, and we got the little entryway with the freezer in there. It's all one big connected together thing. We have ourselves a project. One thing I found extremely interesting, and I've never seen this before, I've been told that this hookup was for a vacuum cleaner. You could hook a hose up to it, and then there was a vacuum in the basement. So then you didn't have to pull your vacuum around with you. You just hook it up there, and then you could vacuum what you needed and just took it right down to a collection bin in the basement. And then this brings us to our final room, which is the attic. Now, the insulation upstairs stops at the ceiling. So the ceiling is insulated. The attic is cold. We actually have insulation on the door, so that way it stays warm in the house. We step up here, temperature instantly drops 20 degrees. Our secret stairway is going to connect up right there. So we're going to have a stairway here. We're going to have a stairway there going right into the room. And then we have big old massive room. I like to have a mask when I'm up here because birds lived up here for a long time. So this is actually going to be where we're starting the project. Get everything tore out, get rid of this bird mess, kind of rebuild the floor. We have to rebuild the walls up here. Justin's going to be in charge of that. So this is my favorite room in the house for just the coolness of it. Awesome space up here. So this is the attic. We got an absolutely beautiful view through these half moon windows. We have one on this wall, we have one on that wall, and then we have one over there. This is all one big giant open room. We're going to get all this stuff picked up out of here. Birds got up here years ago and they pooped all over. So we're going to start ripping up the floor just like we're doing over here. So that way we can get that bird smell out, get everything cleaned up. We do have some rebuilding of the walls that we're going to be doing up here. As you can see, this wall's already been rebuilt. We'll basically be doing this exact same thing underneath there, kind of down along the whole outer perimeter of the attic up here. This is a stinking cool room. So that's what the inside of the house looks like. We have a full scope of work laid out for us. It is going to be a lot of work. We're going to try to do as much of it ourselves as we can, so that way we can try to make it as economical as possible. There's a lot of basic stuff that my grandpa taught me over the years to be able to do, and I watched him do it on several places. This is not our first rodeo when it comes to construction things. We built the heated shop at my house. We built the main heated shop at Dad's house. We've roofed several houses in the neighborhood. We remodeled my mom and dad's kitchen and living room years ago. We built our dryer shack, which is basically a tiny home, that little white building right over there. So, I mean, we have some experience with things. I'm really glad we built that building because that's basically a full-scale little tiny house. So I learned an incredible amount on that. My neighbor Justin is going to be the main carpenter on this, so he's going to be the one masterminding everything together on what actually works from a professional carpenter perspective. And then I have several friends who are plumbers or electricians who are going to help guide me on the other stuff and be able to inspect the work that we're doing to make sure that it's done right. But by being able to do those things ourselves and using the tools that we already have and the skills that we have acquired over the years, it's going to save us an incredible amount of money. I'm looking forward to this. It's not going to be easy. It's not always going to be fun, but it is going to be incredibly worth it by the time we get everything done. So that is the $7,000 ex-Hoarder's house that we're going to be fully restoring.